Can you still feel the pulsing bass under your feet or see the spinning lights painting wild colors on every wall? Those disco nights in the 70s weren't just about the music. They were electric moments where the whole world seemed to come alive, one shimmering sequin at a time. Saturday nights in that era meant slipping into polyester, the scent of hairspray and cologne lingering in the air as you made your entrance beneath the mirrored ball. Whether you were perfecting dance moves in bell-bottoms or just taking it all in from a table at the edge, the dance floor was a world unto itself. Strangers became friends, worries melted away, and the only thing that mattered was the next song. Donna Summer's voice, the swirl of colored strobes, and the laughter echoing off the disco walls. These memories aren't just images, they're feelings that leap back when the right melody plays. So, what? Was it about those nights that made even time itself seem to sparkle? Come with us as we journey back to the heart of disco and rediscover the magic pulsing through every unforgettable beat. Let's set the scene. It's the early 1970s in America. Nixon is in the White House, gas prices are soaring, and the country's mood is tense with change. Yet, as the world outside feels uncertain and unsettled, something dazzling is brewing in the heart of the city. Before disco took over the airwaves and packed dance clubs coast to coast, its roots had begun winding through the vibrant urban nightlife, driven by a diverse chorus of voices longing for release, joy, and a place to belong. Have you ever wondered how those shimmering disco nights began? Before gold records, before the mirror balls, before John Travolta made strutting down the sidewalk look like an art form? The story of disco's early days is as colorful as its later heyday, bursting out of the shadows of New York's underground, shaped by a mosaic of cultures and rhythms. The seeds were planted in secret gatherings, makeshift dance parties held in basements, lofts, and back rooms, often far from the prying eyes of mainstream America. These hidden events were sanctuaries for groups who didn't always find acceptance in public, Black and Latino communities, gay men and women, and anyone who longed for some place to let loose and be utterly free, if only for a night. Can you imagine the thrill of finding a place where you truly belonged, among fellow travelers guided by the music's promise? Back then, the soundtrack was an intoxicating mix. Soul had already sown the melody, funk brought the groove, and Motown offered irresistible hooks. Add a pinch of Latin percussion and the steady insistence of the four-on-the-floor beat, and something unique started to emerge. Early DJs, many of whom would later achieve near-mythic status, spun, blended, and extended records to keep dancers moving without pause. Francis Grasso, one of the first to use headphones to beat-match tracks, made the music flow like an endless river. It was a revelation at a time when most people still danced to live bands or waited through awkward silences between songs. Did you know that in these fledgling years, the equipment was cobbled together from leftover hi-fi systems, and extended dance mixes were made by splicing reel-to-reel tapes right on the spot? All of this was happening at a crucial moment in American history when social boundaries were being tested and reinvented nightly on glowing dance floors. Some of the earliest clubs, like David Mancuso's legendary Loft in New York or The Sanctuary, welcomed everyone who was willing to respect the music and each other. No flashy dress codes, no velvet ropes. If you loved to dance, you were in. These spaces helped erode the old rules and gave rise to a more equal, if still imperfect, kind of community. When was the last time you let music sweep away your worries and made friends with a stranger on the dance floor? But even as disco began to take shape, it was still something of a secret, an unspoken word, a hidden world whispered about by those in the know. Radio stations weren't playing disco yet, and the mainstream didn't recognize it as a movement unto itself. Instead, dancers discovered the latest groove through word of mouth, cassette mixtapes, or a friend who knew someone working coat check at the next big party. Walking down a city street, you might catch the thump, thump, thump of a beat leaking from an open window and feel that irresistible urge to follow it to its joyous source. Ever found yourself drawn to a party by nothing more than a hint of music in the air? And while disco's roots are deeply urban, this early scene was not exclusive to the city. Across the country, wherever there was a dance floor, there was the potential for something magical to happen, a synesthetic blend of sound, movement, and emotion. Small-town roller rinks began offering disco nights, as did local VFW halls and even school gyms. The idea was catching fire, music as more than entertainment. It was a lifeline, a celebration, an escape from whatever troubles waited outside. There's a story behind every disco ball. Maybe yours started far from the neon-lit clubs of Manhattan, but carried just as much sparkle in its own way. Throughout the early 70s, this embryonic disco scene was about inclusion, survival, and joy in the face of adversity. In a time when many forms of mainstream expression still kept minorities, marginalized groups, and LGBTQ individuals on the fringes, disco offered a rare and precious kind of visibility. Some of the best stories from those early years come from regular folks who simply wanted to spin and shine in a world that sometimes felt too dark. Did you ever feel like disco gave you, or someone you loved, a moment to be truly seen? Of course, as with all revolutions, the path wasn't always smooth. There were rivalries between DJs, competition to find the latest, rarest records, and debates about what real disco should sound like. Club owners argued over lighting budgets and fought to keep venues open amid noise complaints and police raids. And yet the energy never died. If anything, obstacles made the music all the more urgent and necessary. Looking back now, it's astonishing to realize how close this scene came to vanishing into history as a brief, private triumph before history itself intervened, making disco a cultural phenomenon the world couldn't ignore. By the mid-1970s, tiny basement parties had blossomed into something bigger and bolder, filled with the hopeful glitter of possibility. The music, once a tightly held secret, was about to break out into the sunlight, blaring from radios, soundtracking TV shows, and filling dance floors in every corner of America and beyond. The disco movement, born from the need for freedom and connection, was poised to ignite. But the revolution would not just be musical, it would be technological, visual, and deeply social, radiating change through every facet of American life. What came next would transform the look and sound of a generation. So, as the lights dim and the mirror ball begins to spin, imagine yourself standing on the edge of history, ready to step onto a dance floor that promises something new. In our next part, we'll step beyond the velvet rope and explore how technology and innovation gave disco its unforgettable sound and spectacle, ushering in the golden era of Saturday night fever. Are you ready to see how the magic came alive? As our journey through the unforgettable world of 1970s disco nights comes to a close, it's hard not to smile at the memories that come flooding back. The bass that seemed to pulse right through your heart, the vibrant swirl of colors reflected 1,000 ways off the mirrored ball, and above all, that unmistakable sense of freedom the dance floor offered, if only for a few magic hours each weekend. We've revisited the humble, hopeful beginnings of disco in secret basements and city clubs where the music brought together communities that so often felt left out of the mainstream. We celebrated the rise of the discotheque, the birth of legendary DJs, and the explosion of creativity that made every night feel like a celebration of possibility and belonging. From the first infectious four-on-the-floor beats to the anthems of Donna Summer and the Bee Gees, disco night by disco night we watched a movement that began in the shadows transform into a nationwide sensation, changing not just how we danced, but how we saw ourselves and each other. Through all its glitter and glamour, disco was never simply about the wild costumes or the dazzling light shows. At its heart, it was about connection between friends, with strangers, among people who might otherwise cross paths without ever truly meeting. Every spin across a crowded floor, every shared laugh at 3 a.m. beneath swirling lights was proof that for a moment in time, music could make us feel united, understood, and alive. Disco wasn't just an escape, it was recognition and acceptance, especially for those who too often lived in the margins. These nights gave us more than hit singles and dance routines. They offered us memories that still shimmer all these years later, echoing somewhere deep inside every time a familiar tune comes on the radio. Now, all these decades later, it's a comfort and a joy to remember how it felt to be surrounded by a crowd moving as one, all differences forgotten, the worries of daily life left at the door for just a little while. Maybe you still have the records tucked away in an old crate, or the scent of your favorite cologne brings you back to those electrifying evenings almost instantly. What moments from your own disco nights stand out most in your mind? Was it the first time you lost yourself in the rhythm, the friends you made across a crowded dance floor, or the laughter that carried you and your best pals all the way home at sunrise? We'd love to hear your memories. Share in the comments the songs, the outfits, the places, or even the wildest dance moves that made the disco era special for you. If this journey stirred up some long-lost feelings, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you'll never miss another stroll down memory lane. And if you know someone who would light up at these memories, share this video with them and relive those golden nights together. We have more sparkling looks back at legendary eras coming soon, each one a chance to reconnect with the moments and music that shaped us. Because in the end, even as the dance floor empties and the music fades, the spirit of those 70s disco nights keeps spinning somewhere inside us all, forever young, forever glittering, forever dancing beneath the mirrored ball.